Hello friends! Today the Greenhouse to Garden series continues. We are up here of course at production, and can you tell what we are working on today? That is right, we are creating our hanging baskets here at Creekside Nursery in Dallas, North Carolina. So we are in full production mode. Tis the season for producing beautiful plants for you sweet customers. Now, hanging baskets will be for our retail garden centers. I love you, we're not shipping hanging baskets. We have not gotten to that level yet, but my goodness, we create some gorgeous hanging baskets that can be used in a ton of different ways. So we are going to go ahead and show you that process of how we produce these great baskets. Hanging baskets, we have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with them because it can be a little tedious. However, today's going to be kind of easy because we got the actual pots today. Early this morning, the truck was here at like 7 o'clock this morning, but they did not have the hangers that go with it. So that is the tedious part. That's the part we don't like, because putting those little babies on there. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you what we're doing. So right now, obviously, we are just filling up a ton of these baskets. These are 10-inch baskets, obviously just a lovely hunter green, very simple, very easy. It has a built-in saucer with it. So if you look on, well, I'll try to find an empty pot, but on the bottom there's not holes on the bottom. So this little saucer helps retain a little bit of water so it doesn't completely drain and so it can absorb in there. So, like I said, these are 10-inch. We do have just a few hangers that I will show you, but we just have the plain wire hangers. And with those, so there's going to be little holes around the baskets. These baskets have 3 holes. So there is 1, 2, and 3 over here that you would put the wire hanger in, and then there you go. So what we're doing is just an assembly line. As you can see, we have it filled up the entire row of conveyors and just filling up the pots. So they are nice and full. And then over on the racks, we have got all of the plants already popped. I'm going to show you those in just a second. All right, so to let you see what an empty pot looks like. So there is the bottom, like I said, it has the saucer in it, and then on the bottom you will see that there are no holes. Again, saucer helps retain a little bit of water in there, but it's nice because we don't have to do anything. We don't have another little piece that we have to put in there. It is all built in for us, so that makes it a lot easier. And then here is the wire hanger. Of course, you get the wire hanger. Then you just stick them in the holes. Now what we would typically do is go get everybody planted, get it all ready, and then we would come back with the wire hangers. So with the wire hangers, if you can see right here, there is a little, there's a little notch, and so that tells us really where to how far down to go, because it may seem obvious, but you want each of the 3 wires to be at the same depth, because otherwise you don't want this to happen, right? You don't want the hanger to be lopsided. You've got to make sure it's nice and straight. So what we'll do is we would take this, and all you have to do is take this wire, bend it, and flip it over into the pot. When we first started doing hanging baskets, we would take this, we would flip it up, and we would twist it like a little twisty tie around the wire up here, and that would kill your thumbs. Imagine doing, you know, hundreds of these, kill your thumb, and it's not necessary. So all you have to do is just flip it over and stick it in. Now each nursery, each greenhouse will use different pots, different colors. Some people use the plastic hangers. This is just a personal preference of mine. This is where I guess it pays off to be the owner. It's like, I just personally do not like the look of a plastic hanger. I just think it looks, I don't know, messy. And so when you've got a beautiful hanging basket filled with petunias and all sorts of stuff, this wire really kind of disappears. So you're not seeing a big plastic green or white or terracotta hanger, because this essentially disappears and all you're doing is focusing on the gorgeous flowers. So that's just a little personal preference of mine, and so that is why we stick with the wire hangers. The different ones will have different baskets. We'll have, maybe some of them will have the 3 like we have, and then some also have 4. So it just depends on what you want to do. Obviously, also you can choose to do different sizes. You could do a 10, 12, 14, 16, you know, whatever it is that you want to do. Historically, in the past, we would also do a select number of hanging baskets with kind of that black wrought iron with the cocoa liner. And they were great at success in the beginning, and then people just kind of started to peter off with them. And so this year we're just sticking with a straight 10-inch green basket. So let me show you what we're putting in them. So we do what we call monoculture baskets, and we also do recipe baskets. So a monoculture is really what it means. It sounds like mono meaning one, culture meaning plant. So like right here, this is the Supertunia Mini Vista Indigo. So in this hanging basket, we will put 3 of the Mini Vista plugs. So those will go in there. There'll be 3 of them, kind of space them out like a little bit of a triangle. And then in this basket, come in the spring, all you have is just this gorgeous basket filled with the Mini Vista Indigo. So we've got Mini Vista Indigo. We have got one of my favorite hanging baskets. I love this one. Is the Superbells Dreamsicle. That gorgeous, like it is a Clemson orange. It is a bright, bright orange. So we've got Dreamsicle. Then of course, Mini Vista White. This is hugely popular. We actually had a customer and her daughter was getting married. And so I think it was Mini Vista White. I don't think it was Snowdrift. And so she came and bought like 20 or 30 of the white and then put them in containers, put them in like landscape, you know, got them bigger, and then used them for decorations for the wedding. And then of course she had them for the rest of the summer, and it was stunning. So Mini Vista Indigo. We have got Superbells, and just as a little side note, you can always tell what is a Superbell versus a Petunia. Let's see. If you can see here, if the camera will, let's see if it'll focus. Do you see how the Calibrachoa, the Superbell on the left, has little small leaves? And then the Petunia, the Supertunia on the right, has much thicker, fuller leaves. So generally speaking, your Calibrachoas, your Superbells on the left, will have much smaller, tinier leaves compared to your Petunias. So just by looking at it, you can tell one plant versus another. Now, however, once you get into like all Superbells, so this is the Superbells Yellow, again, huge popular because it's just a bright, solid yellow. I tell people it's like a big bird yellow, right? Gorgeous, so beautiful and sunny. So you wouldn't be able to tell really like the yellow versus the Holy Moly, which is right here. And Holy Moly, of course, is that great bicolor of the pink and the yellow together. So we've got those. We have got more Superbells. We do a lot of Superbells in containers. This is, of course, Tropical Sunrise, hugely popular hanging basket. So we've got that. We've got the Pink Lemonade. Look, we've got a little, oh my goodness, look at that. You got a cute little flower. There we go. So Superbells are really popular to put in a hanging basket. Why is that? So one thing that you need to be aware of when you're buying Superbells is Calibrachoas, Million Bells, people will kind of call them, but it's a Calibrachoa. Superbells is the trademark name that Proven Winners has given their Calibrachoas. So the Superbells, they love to be on the dry side. They hate to have wet feet, meaning they do not perform well in a wet pot or in a wet landscape. If you have soil that drains extremely well, so I'm looking at you, my coastal friends, so if you have very sandy soil, then you could probably put your Superbells in directly into the landscape because your soil drains really quickly, right? If you have soil that retains moisture really well, like I do with my clay soil, Superbells, it'll be a slow death. Like you're going to be super disappointed with putting those in the landscape. So for us and our customers in this region that have clay soil, we really highly encourage you not to put your Superbells directly in the landscape. They do great in any kind of container, any kind of hanging basket, hay racks, pots. Like, it does not, like, as long as it's not in the ground, you want it to drain really well. That is the key to success with your Superbells. Now, if you want to put them in the ground, what you're going to want to do is get the Supertunias, a petunia, right? They can handle the landscape magnificently well. We have put thousands of Supertunias in our landscape, and they really perform quite well. So what we're going to do is let's look at some of the Supertunias that are going in the hanging baskets, and then I'm going to explain how we do the recipes, because the recipes, of course, are really fun because you've got multiple different types of plants, annuals, in one hanging basket. That makes for a really interesting, fun container. All right, so here we have the Supertunia Mini Vista Hot Pink. So this is going to be, of course, the Mini Vista, and it is going to be a little bit more controlled, but has those really beautiful hot pink flowers. This is going to be a great way to bring that nice pink color to your containers, your landscape, or, you know, your porch if you want to hang it on. And then this is one of the most popular petunia hanging baskets, is the Supertunia Bermuda Beach. So Bermuda Beach, it is in that pink coral family, and in a hanging basket, it is just stunning. Now, the main difference between, say, like Bermuda Beach and then the Mini Vista Hot Pink is, like, as far as the color, is Mini Vista Hot Pink is obviously going to be a really, like, true hot pink, where your Bermuda Beach, like I said, has that pinky kind of coral color to it. And also, since this is just a traditional Supertunia, you're going to have a bigger flower on it versus the Mini Vista. So those are some more. And then, of course, so what they're doing now is our folks are putting recipes together. So let me explain how we put a recipe together. So proven winners, every year they will trial different combinations of plants that have the same growing conditions and that behave really well together. When we were at Pleasant View up in Loudon, New Hampshire this past summer, we were able to see some of those combos that they were trying out. Some of them are great successes and some others are not. That's why they trial them, to see really how well they perform. So like I said, typically with your proven winner recipe, you will have 3 different plants. And it could be any kind of combination. It could be 3 different Mini Vistas. It could be 3 completely different kinds of plants, like what we have here behind me up here on the rack. So this is the Rockin' Rush series. And so you're gonna have 3 completely different species of plants. So you have got the Goldilocks Rocks Bidens, that is the yellow. Then we have got, is that Raspberry Rush? No, yes it is, look at me. Raspberry Rush is the petunia, and then you've got the Superbena Whiteout. So you have got a Biden, a petunia, and a verbena all there together. So what we do is, in these recipes, they call for 2 of each of those plants. So you're gonna have a total of 6 plugs in one container. Let me show you what it looks like with them putting, it's a different recipe, but let me show you what it looks like. So what they potted up first was, this is the shade recipe that we do. So this is called Eclipse of the Sun. So you have got the Chocolate Drop Coleus in here. You have got the Rocapuco Tropical Shades, yep. And then you have got the Sweet Caroline Sweetheart Lime. So on the back, that's why I'm looking, because right here on the back, it'll tell you what the plants are. So this is going to be for that shade to part shade container. It is a beautiful one and nice and thick. So what you can see here is, like I said, we have 2 of each plant, and we put them across from each other. So you've got the Chocolate Drop across here, you have got the Rocapucos here, and then you have got the Sweet Potato Vine right here. So what's going to happen is, as this grows, it is going to get nice and full and mounded, and then it's going to trail over. So when these are ready to be sold, you will not see this hanging basket whatsoever. It's going to come over. You're going to see probably the bottom of it just to begin with, but it is going to get a beautiful mounded trailing habit to it. So that kind of gives you an idea. And so they've already put, we have just a few of the hangers, so you can see what they've done is, like I said, You put it in, you hit that notch, and then you flip it over. And then of course it comes with the hang tag, and then boom, there you go, hanging baskets. So we're gonna keep on working. We've got an assembly line going. And so at this point, it's not terribly hard to tell, you know, oh, okay, I mean, it's pretty obvious. Like, okay, well, somebody will come through and put in the coleus. Then somebody comes behind them and puts in the impatiens. And then the third person comes in and puts in the sweet potato vine. Where it gets tricky is when you have a recipe that has all of the same genre of a plant. So we'll do one that has just the Supertunias in it, right? So it's 3 different Supertunias in there. But right now, a petunia looks like a petunia because they're not flowering. So that's where you have to be really careful. And so one person will have, let's say it's the Mini Vista White. So they'll go through and put their 2 Mini Vista Whites in. The next person will come in and put their 2 Mini Vista Indigos in, and then the third person will come in with whatever the other Mini Vista is. And so that's where you have to be really careful to make sure that your recipe comes out. Now, at the end of the day, if you end up with 2 of one and maybe you run short and there's only 1 of the other, it's not, you know, the end of the world, but we try to make them as pretty and as uniform as possible. All right. I am going to stop yapping and I am going to get over here and start working. So man, I tell you, many hands make light work. And the fact that we didn't have to put the hangers on today, we got 410 hanging baskets knocked out, boom, absolutely done. So for now, they are going to be sitting on the floor here in greenhouse 2, because obviously if you don't have hangers, you cannot hang them from the ceiling. So let me show you the little setup. Once the hangers get in here, then or arrive, then we can get them hooked on and we'll put them up. Let me show you how that works. In the greenhouse, we have got the system with the purlins, and so we have got on every other dripper there is a hook, and so you can see that I went ahead and put this hanging basket up there on the hook. And then the drippers are of 2 different lengths, right? So you can kind of get an idea of where the baskets will hang, and so they will be a staggered hanging, so we can get double the amount. If they were all at the exact same level, then you would not be able to get as many hanging baskets on the purlin itself. So that's why we go ahead and double it up. Now, for those of you that always are interested in the watering, so this is the irrigation. This is a weight, so this is what holds it down. And through here, you can see that it's got a little drip of water right here. So we can obviously water through the hanging baskets, and we can fertilize because this has a fertigation system. So that's actually in the next greenhouse over, where we can run the fertilizer through these drippers. So it makes a huge difference and just saves a ton of time. Now, for right now, Ariberto just asked me if we need to water, and we do. So we're not going to turn on the irrigation in the beginning because it is just a dripper, right? So if you have the dripper here in the middle, just the center is going to get water, and these guys will not get a ton of water. So we'll hand water until they get really well rooted in, and then kind of times it in with the heat and the warmth that comes along. And then once they're really well rooted, then we can turn on the irrigation and it all goes into automation. So like I said, we did have 410 hanging baskets. That is a drastic drop in the number that we traditionally do. I think last year we did 1,000 hanging baskets. This year only 410. So you can obviously, we've cut them more than half, right? And that was just because they just weren't selling last year. Now, what do you do with a hanging basket? Obviously, you can use it on your porch, you can hang it, you can keep it as it is. Or what I personally like to do is, if they're the Superbells, then I like to take them out of the basket and I like to put them in a much larger container, but primarily in the landscape. So I will take it out of the hanging basket, plant it directly into the ground, and it gives you instant impact, and then it just fills in the space. So this is a perfect thing to do. Let's say you have like the front of your house and you have a sidewalk and you want big pops of color. I personally, let's say I would rather go ahead and buy 3 hanging baskets and plant them spaced out between, say, your boxwoods or whatever it is that you have, as opposed to maybe starting with the grandes and doing those smaller and then waiting to fill it in. So it definitely gives you an instant gratification kind of setup right there. So if you're having a party, you're having an event, I don't know, Mother's Day, and you want it to look really pretty like immediately, buy that hanging basket, take it out of the hanging basket and plant it. We did a whole video really early on in our YouTube channel career of like those different ways that you can use a hanging basket, and I will link that so you can get all sorts of fun information and details, and you can see younger Jenny in that video. So anyway, it has been a great day. Like I said, it's not even lunchtime yet and we are done. So we will move on. Once the hangers get here, then obviously we'll come back and take care of that. But anyway, there you go, my friends. That is how hanging baskets are made here at Creekside Nursery. As always, we so appreciate you. Y'all have an amazing day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.